Welcome to Jets This Week. I'm Gary Lawless. This is Tim Campbell. Tim, the Jets they're at that stage where they're getting around to 25 games left in the season. I believe they have 26 heading into Tuesday's big matchup with the Minnesota Wild. The Jets have a 6-point lead on teams that are outside the postseason. They own a wild card spot at this stage. This is the most legitimate opportunity for the Jets to make the playoffs. I know they've flirted with it in other years, but it didn't have the same kind of foundation that this has. This hasn't been in and out. They got into the playoffs, in and around November, and they've stayed for the most part and been, really pretty solid. What do they have to do to get over the finish line?
Well, I think they just need to do what they've been doing. And you're right about foundation. Early play has put them in a good spot where they're not chasing, where they've actually been in control of the spot since about the 6th or 7th week of the season. So, I mean, in my view, if they can get back to a little bit better quality defense that they showed us from the beginning of November, probably right through the All-Star break, give or take a game or two, I think that kind of focus and commitment defensively and in their own end with the good goaltending they've received, I think the road won't be too arduous to get in. But that's the biggest priority. It's probably priority 1 and priority 2 for me.
Evander Kane has had shoulder surgery and is lost to the Jets for the season. We know Kevin Cheveldayoff wanted to improve his third line. He was looking for a right winger to go along with Kane and Adam Lowry, and then Kane was lost for the season. So now he's got Dustin Byfuglien playing on that line, but I would think he'd like to get Byfuglien back on the blue line. Do you expect Cheveldayoff to try and make a move, first with Evander Kane and then without Evander Kane? Will he try and plug both those holes prior to the deadline?
Well, I think he'll try. I think he's always trying. I know he comes under a lot of fire for not having done a lot transaction-wise, especially with the deadlines we've seen in the first 3 seasons here. But I think he'll try, and I think he's going to find it very difficult. There, to me, are, as usual, a lot of teams looking to improve without giving anything away. They don't want to make a equal hockey trade. They're looking to give you futures and draft picks and maybe prospects to improve their team. So I think in that atmosphere, it's going to be very difficult for him to upgrade unless he's willing to part with one of his top prospects and maybe one of his decent defensemen. And by that, I don't just mean Jay Harrison or Paul Postma. If he can finagle some kind of swap, including a quality defenseman, if they feel they can afford to do that, then he might be able to do something. Otherwise, I think a hockey trade is going to be really difficult for the Jets in this particular deadline.
Evander Kane is the subject of all these trade talks. The asking price, we're told right now, is an NHL roster player, a grade A prospect, and a first-round draft pick. I think a deal like that will have to wait for the summer.
I agree. I don't see any team that's looking to make a run at the Cup or a run at the playoffs willing to part with that now. Teams right now are only trying to add so they can get better and win the Cup. They're not going to subtract any high-quality players, and by that I mean a top 2-line forward, which is probably in the neighborhood of what the Jets are looking for. So I don't think that particular trade is in the offing here in the next 4 weeks. In June, however, when bigger pictures come into play with other teams and all you need is more than one team that's really interested, and then it probably becomes, I want to say easier, but it's never easy for Kevin Cheveldayoff.
That's Tim Campbell. I'm Gary Lawless. This is Jets This Week.